なんだよ、はっきりしろよ。
Boom! Spoiler alert.
I'm sorry I didn't give you the spoiler alert before you saw what happened to Sasuke, but if you're here, you obviously know what we're talking about. Recently in the Boruto anime, our great ninjas Naruto and Sasuke, along with Boruto and Kawaki, faced the pale Martian Ishiki Otsutsuki, who to date is the most powerful being that has stepped on the ninja world, surpassing even Ebisu himself. After the battle was over, thanks to Kuroma's sacrifice and Ishiki's annihilation, Ishiki manifested himself again, and without beating around the bush or asking, he stabbed Sasuke's Rinnegan. That's right, my friend. Now Sasuke, in addition to missing an arm, is missing an eye.
The foul stench of death is upon us!
With the loss of the legendary Rinnegan, many of you could believe that the power of the Uchiha Avenger has gone to waste. But no. He still has various abilities that you can't even imagine. Last week I talked about Naruto's power levels without Kurama. Today, I will show you that Sasuke is still really powerful without the Rinnegan. Before I start detailing Sasuke's power without the Rinnegan, I think it's necessary to explain his full power up until his battle against Ishiki Otsutsuki. As we all know, Sasuke has excellent taijutsu. His basic skills in conjunction with his Sharingan already make him one of the most powerful ninjas on Earth. But from the moment he met the requirements to awaken the Rinnegan and was visited by Hagoromo Otsutsuki, he received not only the normal Rinnegan, but the one we know as the 6 Tomoe Rinnegan, which although he did not demonstrate all of them, gave him each and every one of the techniques of the 6 paths, plus his own special abilities, such as the Ameno Techikata, with which he exchanges the place with another person or object. A technique that seems simple, but proved to be very effective in combat, and more because of the great skill of Sasuke Uchiha, and his own space-time jutsu that allowed him to connect with other planets in just seconds, achieving a dojutsu with such great power, capable of summoning all 9 Biju under a genjutsu at the same time. And it's for all this that I've highlighted Sasuke until the loss of his Rinnegan. I consider that he has a power level in the lower middle part of the God range. Now knowing the power level that our emo Avenger had before he lost the Rinnegan, we will start with his power level in base form. As I commented at the beginning, Sasuke since he was a fetus showed great taijutsu, and speed that was compared to the most expert shinobi of that ninja art, emphasizing that he is also capable of using jutsu of the 5 basic chakra nature, and even combining some of them to make use of advanced elements, as it happened in the Sasuke Retsuden novel, in which he was able to combine the elements of water and wind to create the powerful ice element, opening the door to many more jutsu. Also highlighting the fact that he is a master in knowing how to use his chakra effectively, since to create one of his most powerful jutsu, Kirin, he is able to use the rays that he himself provokes in nature with the element of fire. And thanks to the absence of the Rinnegan, which was spending more chakra on him than Jiraiya was spending on females, he now has a greater opportunity to use more powerful and tactical jutsu in combat. And not to mention that he is able to access a special summoning of the snakes, among which he mainly used Deoda. Also noting that he can summon hawks, in this case Garuda. And that is why Sasuke Uchiha, or at least the remaining half of him in his base form, I consider him a power in the middle part of the Kage rank. But when he uses his 3 Tomoe Sharingan, accessing the basic abilities of himself, and even with the knowledge to be able to use the legendary Izanami and Izanagi jutsu, which he could use with a spare eye, he rises to the top of the same rank. Then we have Sasuke with his Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. After the loss of his left eye, Sasuke still retains the EMS in his right, so he is able to use his special abilities like Amaterasu and Kagasuchi. And there is great confusion, since Sasuke's ability to create the black flames of the Amaterasu came from his left eye, while with his right eye he used Kagasuchi technique, with which he manipulated the inextinguishable black fire at will, and after losing his left eye, you might think that he wouldn't be able to perform the Amaterasu, and therefore the special ability of his right would be null, because there is no fire to manipulate. But no. Even seconds after losing his left eye, we could see how he was able to use the Amaterasu with his right eye against Borishiki, letting us know that he could create it and shape it from the same eye. And if we combine this, in theory because he possesses the eye of the legendary Itachi Uchiha, he is capable of using the mythical Tsukuyomi Genjutsu, that would give him an enormous advantage in combat, with which he would end up with almost any rival in the most heinous way possible. That is why Sasuke, making use of his Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, I consider him a power level at the base of the legend rank.
円遁この雷
Importantly, Sasuke is still able to use the power of the Susanoo. Just because Sasuke currently has one eye doesn't mean he isn't capable of using his powerful Susanoo. Well, according to the information in the 4th data book, to activate the Susanoo for the first time, both Mangekyo Sharingans are needed. But after its first use, the Susanoo's power remains engraved in the person's brain, and that's why for its second use of the eye, it doesn't give a damn. Proving this when Itachi was able to use the Susanoo without having the Sharingan active, and even Madara when he was able to use the perfect Susanoo without even having eyes. If Madara was able to use it without eyes, then it is obvious that Sasuke with one eye can use the perfect Susanoo, which will not be as powerful since Sasuke was able to influence him with the power of his Rinnegan, allowing him to even resist Madara's infinite Tsukuyomi. In my perception, that power level is in the middle part of the legend range. Something that is very important to note is that although it has not been seen in the anime or the manga, Sasuke, for possessing the Mangekyo of his brother Itachi as well as the Tsukuyomi, could also access the majestic sacred weapons such as the Yatamira, with which he could shield his Susanoo with a defense, capable of reflecting any attack from the enemy, and even the sword of Totsuka, which could seal everything that went through it. With these two weapons, he would bring his Susanoo to a power level in the mid-high part of the legend rank. There is a power that the legendary Uchiha is very likely to possess. As we all know, during the 4th Great Ninja War, Sasuke was on the verge of death because Madara Uchiha pierced his heart. Kabuto came to save his life by implanting Hashirama's cells in his wound, exactly the same as Madara did in the past, when he was mortally wounded by Hashirama, joining the chakra of the reincarnations of Indra and Ashura, making Hagoromo's chakra emerge and awaken the Rinnegan. But the point that matters here is not the Rinnegan. What matters are the Hashirama cells that Sasuke, like Madara, received while on the verge of death. Well, it is very likely that in the not too distant future, Sasuke will be able, through these cells, to access Hashirama Senju's Kekkei Genkai, Makutan. To confirm this, we have to go back in time to remember what happened to Madara after implanting the cells of Hashirama in his heart. After implanting these cells, nothing happened. He was only able to survive for many years thanks to the regenerative power of the cells. But after the years, Madara almost reached the brink of death. Finally, Ashura's chakra and the Hashirama cells that had been implanted in his heart went through everything. His chakra system and network combining with his own Indra chakra, awakening the Rinnegan and incidentally gaining the ability to access Hashirama Senju's wood element, and as proof, reflecting his face on his chest. And if it took Madara years for Hashirama cells to develop in his body to the point of granting him the Makutan, I think it's very likely that Sasuke in the future will be able to use it as well. And considering all of this, and so far it hasn't been contradicted in either the manga or the data books, we are hopeful to see Sasuke using the Makutan very soon, with which he would be able to use the powerful jutsu, Nativity of a World of Trees, as well as use the Wood Golem and the Dragon Wood Jutsu, capable of stopping a legendary Bijou. Similar to the possibility of the Makutan, Sasuke, despite no longer possessing the Rinnegan, may still be able to make use of some of its most basic abilities. Well, just as it happens when an Uchiha awakens the power of the Susanoo with their Mangekyo, after the second use, the eyes are not needed because the power is recorded in their brain. It is likely that this situation also happens with the Rinnegan, since Sasuke woke it after uniting the chakra of Indra and Ashura, receiving the power of the Sage of the Six Paths. In other words, the power that caused the Rinnegan to awaken in Sasuke came from within himself, due to the chakra that he possesses, though some of the Rinnegan abilities could be engraved in his brain. In this case, one of those jutsu could be to absorb chakra, since Madara, without having eyes, was able to absorb Hashirama's Sage Mode, an ability that he could use thanks to the Preta Path power. He was able to do it using the Preta Path. There is a possibility of using the other abilities of the Six Paths, except the Outer Path, and the special ability of the Rinnegan. In this case, Madara not even was able to summon the Geto Mazo when he had the false Rinnegan of the Edo Tensei. The same thing happening when he did not have his eyes. Well, curiously, when Borishiki stabbed Sasuke's Rinnegan, he did it with the purpose that Sasuke would not be able to use his space-time jutsu, not referring to the other techniques. And having said all this, taking as possible the access to some of the basic abilities of the Rinnegan and the power of the Hashirama Makutan, I consider Sasuke to be a power level in the upper part of the legend rank. And speaking of possibilities, it is impossible not to mention what is almost inevitable to happen. Well, it is likely that Sasuke will have a prosthetic arm made, either made from Hashirama cells or a scientific ninja tool, like Naruto currently, which he rejected in the past as a way to pay for his actions. The same could happen with his left eye socket, which he could complete with a Sharingan from Obito's lab, both of which are found intact in the mountain's graveyard until proven otherwise in the anime, manga, or data books. And speaking of Sharingans, what do you think if I told you that Sasuke could even acquire a new Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan?
Right. Well, that's good for 10 shillings. If you can prove it.
To prove this, we have to review the third data book regarding the Eternal Mangekyou, and it says to perfect the Mangekyou Sharingan, it is necessary for the user to seize another member of the clan that has the same abilities, that is, another Mangekyou. The closer the member, the greater the compatibility. The end. It does not indicate that it must be a sibling, but it is convenient due to the closeness of the genetics. Well, if that is the problem, it is very likely that the Sharingan of his father, Fugaku Uchiha, have been in the laboratory since the day of the clan massacre. Since taking into account the possibility shown in the anime filler that Fugaku possessed the Mangekyou Sharingan, it would be a great mistake on Obito's part to waste that eye. And being Sasuke's father, it would be close enough that his eyes would match perfectly. So then we have the Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan, with Itachi's eye on his right and his father Fugaku's on the left, with which, due to the abilities on the latter being added, in my perception it would reach the upper middle part of the legend rank. That is just a theory. And finally, he highlighted the last possibility. What do you think if we assume, as I mentioned before, that Sasuke was still able to access the Prithipath ability to absorb chakra, and once again was able to combine the power of the Susanoo with the chakra of the Bijou? Not only that, being able to combine it with the incredible power of the Ten Tails, from which Ishiki took chakra in that dimension, which he could reach with the help of Boruto's space-time portal. Well, you haven't wondered what the hell is going to happen in the ninja world when God Otsutsuki arrives on Earth. If only Kurama had to die with Ishiki, imagine all the chaos it would be to face the father of the Pale Martians. So considering that Sasuke is able to access a portion of the Ten Tails chakra and combine it with the perfect Susanoo, please tell me what rank and power level you would give our avenging Sasuke Uchiha. Anyways, that's it for today's video. Please tell me in the comments if you think I was right on my Sasuke analysis. Make sure to like the video, hit that subscribe button, and that post notification bell to be notified every time we upload. And we'll see you in another video. Goodbye!